Are there services in
Good
here
evening.
on Sunday morning?
Good evening. Today is July 9th, 2025, and we are in the former St. John's German Lutheran Church, the corner of 22nd and Chapel Street. This is our Friends of Wheeling meeting for July. Before we start talking about the church, a few announcements I have. There are some other activities coming up. For example, tomorrow evening at 7:30, a portion of the symphony and a choir will be performing at Vance Memorial Presbyterian Church starting at 7:30. This is a free concert. They're asking $20 a head. All the proceeds will go for flood relief. Saturday there will be a work session at Mount Wood Cemetery anytime between 10 and 3. So if you have nothing to do on Saturday and you want to learn how to repair stones, or reset stones, or just clean them. So no experience is necessary. We will teach you how to do things. So that's at Mount Wood Cemetery anytime between 10 and 3. You can come and go. If you're there around lunchtime, Peggy Niebergall has made pizza.
She made pizza?
Or will buy pizza, actually, is what happens. So, our Mount Wood Cemetery tour is scheduled for September. We will do our typical first-person representations of famous people who are in Mount Wood Cemetery. That is Sunday afternoon, September the 7th. A couple other announcements, and I put this in the newsletter, so if you're on our mailing list, you already know this, but there's a gentleman from New York State who is a clock collector, and he has come across a clock that he has had fully restored, and it was from the Jacob Grubb store. Jacob Grubb was a jeweler and optician back in the day, and it's a beautiful clock. I wish I had room for it on my wall. He's asking $600. That includes shipping. So I have a picture of it here, and it was in the newsletter. And the last thing I just found out today, our friend Bittenheim, you know, one of our new preservationists, and her husband are organizing the Ohio Valley Jamboree, which will be at the penitentiary on August the 23rd from 2 to 9. Now that's the same day as the Farm to Fork, I believe, but since this is all day, you could do both, or depending on what your preference, your music preference is, you could do one or the other, I'm sure. So, those are the announcements. Any other announcements that I've missed? And then we'll do a bit of history.
Oh, the riverboat?
Riverboats, yes. The American Cruise Line has been docking in Wheeling and will come 5 more times. Sunday the 20th of July will be the next one. They are there in the mornings and they stay most of the day. And then several Sundays after that. They're all on Sunday mornings. So sorry about church. It's one of those things. But if you'd like to see the riverboats, they are there. We do a history walking tour for visitors on those days. Any other announcements? Okay, so here we go. This is what I found, and you can tell me if it's right or wrong or whatever. German immigrants, of course, were one of the largest immigrant populations of Wheeling back in the day. And originally, as other denominations did, they held services just when they would have an itinerant preacher who came into town. They first worshiped in a small frame building in North Wheeling, and I have not been able to research to see exactly where that was, but of course it's not there now. But in 1835, the congregation got its first minister, Reverend Andreas Schwartz. He was the first resident pastor, and a formal congregation was formed. Within a year, they built the structure on 18th Street, where Laughlin Chapel is now. And it was a rather modest-looking building, and you can find a picture online, but it looks like this. Joanne Sullivan is behind the camera here, and she will post my comments and our tour on our Facebook page, so you can always look at that later and see these pictures. There was a cornerstone for that church, and it is still here. It's on the Chaplain Street entrance toward town, down low. So if you want to see that, that cornerstone, it is there. It's beginning to fade. It's sandstone, so it's wearing off. And it says in German, and I won't try to pronounce the German, but it says First German Lutheran Church in Wheeling, 1836. So it's quite old. Now there was a merger of different churches in 1870, and the name was changed at that point to St. John's German Evangelical Protestant Church. And the growing congregation needed a bigger church than the one on 18th Street, and so they built one on the corner of 17th and Market Streets on kind of the north side of the Market Street Bridge. They had multiple stained glass windows there made by the Artistic Glass Painting Company of Cincinnati, and the online records say that they cost $5,500, and if we count inflation, that is nearly $150,000 today. The names on those windows, often in Old German text, reflect the German heritage of their donors, and their names such as, and you can walk around and see some of these, Zimmer, Schmeichel, Pfarr, Menkmöller, Schule, Berein, Schocke, Zoeckler, Neuhard, Stamm, Stifel. Those are just a few. It is German text, so sometimes it's hard to decipher the letters. Well, if you could visualize where that church was, when the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad came to Wheeling, they needed a passenger station. They said, we need this spot. And so there was a big court case, and the railroad won, and that church was demolished. It looks like it was quite an impressive church. And that's the bottom picture here. But one of the deals with the court case was that when they demolished that church, they were allowed to retrieve certain things such as the organ, the bell, which is still here in the bell tower, the cornerstone from that original church, and many of the memorial stained glass windows. Now, several other windows were added later over time, and according to the web, it says that the two large central windows on either side of the sanctuary were added later. So I'm assuming those are those two. 4 windows in the bell tower landing, 4 on the second level, 3 on the foot of the grand staircase, and 2 over the entrance doors, but it didn't say which entrance door, so I'm not sure what it means. So those were added later. The others are original. Now, when I look around and look at the German text, I'm kind of assuming that the originals were these that we see here, and also perhaps some down in your fellowship hall.
Correct.
Yeah. Wheeling architect Fred Ferris was the designer of this building. It was dedicated in September of 1908, and over the next 2 or 3 decades, they did have services in German, but gradually got away from that. For a while, they only had 1 German service a month, and then eventually by 1934 they voted to eliminate all the German services that were held on a regular basis. With the denominational merger, the congregation again changed its name in 1939 to St. John's Evangelical and Reformed Church. In 1957, the United Church of Christ was formed, representing a merger of the Congregational Christian churches and the Evangelical and Reformed Church. And St. John's participated in this merger, and the name was changed then to St. John's United Church of Christ. Beginning in 2019, it's been known as the Center Wheeling Fellowship, and that's what it's known as now.
Correct.
And it serves the community in a variety of ways other than church services. For example, and I believe we'll be able to see this, they have the free bike depot downstairs. So if people need bicycle transportation and can't afford a bike, this is where they come. They also have office space for Helping Heroes, and they have a chapter of Celebrate Recovery that meets here, and a variety of other things. Now, the pastor is Reverend Inslee, who is here. Would you like to stand up and just say hello? All right, and Becky is the church representative who's going to say what I did wrong and say a few other words. Would you like to stand up here?
She did a very good job with the history. Thank you. I grew up in this church, was baptized, confirmed, married here, as was my parents and my grandparents, so it means a lot to me. And the windows of our church, I think, stand out beyond stand out. Mm-hmm. And it's like a hidden gem with our windows. Back here we have a pipe organ. We don't have an organist at this time, but that's a beautiful pipe organ, which many churches don't have a pipe organ whatsoever. The choir loft used to be up there. We're a small congregation, but we do a lot of outreach in our community. Back in the back used to be opened, and you would go up the steps back there, and that was extra people that sat back in the old days, my grandfather's day. My grandfather closed that in. So we have the bell tower in the corner back there, and you can go up the steps, then you go up another ladder, and then another ladder to get to the bell tower. So if you're ambitious, please feel welcome.
Does the bell still work?
Yes. So that still works. What else?
Is
in
it ever
summertime-
used?
Pardon me?
Is it ever used? Bell?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. John Gregory, he's downstairs. He loves our bell. I'm surprised he's not up here ringing it yet, but he loves to ring the bell. You know, so yes, it still works. I get anxious because it's old and everything. Is it going to come down? But it's always stayed intact. So that's that.
Any famous parishioners like the Schmeichel go to church here? No?
Downstairs, I was talking to her early, if any of you remember the Schmeichel funeral home and furniture store, which is the Greek church now. Okay, they're distant relatives of mine. There's a window downstairs. So, I mean, you have to look at all the windows. So that's one of them, you know, that where the Greek church is.
When I came for the pre-visit, just to make sure this was something we wanted to see,
Right.
I went around and jotted down as many names as I could read the letters of, and I went home and tried to find something about those people, and everyone whose death record I could find online was a German immigrant.
Yes.
So these were the people who came here to make new lives, and they did. And it's an amazing church. You say you do have a small congregation, but you are still functioning as a church?
Correct.
And your services are when?
Sunday mornings, 10 o'clock, and Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock.
Okay, Sunday morning at
10 o'clock.
10 and Tuesday night at 6. Okay, so if you're looking for a church home and you have Lutheran backgrounds, even though it's not technically a Lutheran, I guess now.
Not now.
I'm sure you would be welcome to come here. So we will not do a walk around online tonight. Only those here will be able to do the walk around, but we will go downstairs and see some more of the windows in their fellowship hall, and we'll go on down and see the free bike depot, and maybe we'll get another set of videos down there if Joanne.
Yeah, so I'll finish this one. I'll finish this one and I'll start.
So we'll finish this one, and thank you, Joanne. And